it's Tammy with It's All About the Dogs.
Noelle with Positive Directions Canine Academy.
And we're talking about barking.
Yeah.
Barking dogs.
Barking dogs. So I took the liberty of writing down some reasons why dogs bark.
Okay.
I didn't write down all the reasons, but I figured I would highlight the ones that cause the most, what do I want to say, aggravation for owners.
Okay.
And then I thought we'd give some tips on how to handle those types of barking.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, and I've got Zella here, and we have Bliss. over
Yes,
here
Bliss is
behind
running
us.
around in the background. Busy.
Zella barks a lot. We've talked about that.
Yes, yes.
So.
And I have one at home. Guys, be careful what you name your dogs. This dog's name is Gabby, and she talks constantly.
All the time.
All the time. She's got something to say.
This one does too.
She demand barks. She barks when strangers come to the door. She barks when strangers don't come to the door.
When a leaf blows
Exactly.
across the lawn.
She doesn't need a reason. It's 4:10 and I just feel like shouting.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But you can tell the different kinds of barks, though,
You can.
specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, for instance, you can tell the difference between an aggressive bark or an I'm not sure bark from one where they're play barking.
Yes.
That's easy to tell the difference
It's a
between.
different pitch.
It's a different pitch,
Yeah.
and the body language is completely different.
Totally different. Her hair all stands up like right on the back of her neck, and she backs away when she's not sure about something or something's weird.
Right. Yes, exactly. So there's times when you want to get in there and you want to stop that barking as quick and as fast as you possibly can. Number one, because we don't want to be judged by other people.
By
So
other people.
the
then.
neighbors are going to think that we're crazy.
Damn dog barks all the time. Well, and I got to tell you, it's not fun when your neighbor's dogs are constantly barking.
Mhm.
I've been there, done that, and
Yep.
I like to keep my dogs quiet. In fact, one of my neighbors told me I didn't even know you had dogs. That's
Oh,
because
wow.
most of them don't bark.
That's really nice.
She's the only one that really makes a bunch of noise.
Gotcha.
The others, Levi, I could count on two hands how many times he's barked in 10 years.
Yeah.
So,
hmm
he really very rarely barks.
That's awesome. That's
It is.
really awesome.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah. So for alarm barks, so that's where your dog sees something like an intruder or sees something that's sketchy or they're not quite sure about. They're going to have that deep guttural kind of.
Yes.
Their hackles might be raised a little bit.
This one does that all the time.
Yeah.
When the UPS man delivers something or whatever.
I got food on my face.
Uh-oh. I didn't see
Here,
that.
let me get that out. All right.
Well, and I had a friend over that had a baseball cap on, and she barked when you first came in,
Mhm.
and then later, and then she was fine, and then a little later she noticed him, and it was like, I've never seen you before, even though she'd seen him like 15 minutes ago.
Silly dog.
And she started doing that, backing away and
Mhm.
acting all weird, and I don't know.
Right. So when your dog's alarm barking, acknowledge the fact that they've drawn your attention to something. Go over, check it out, make sure that it's not anything that you really need to address. Some dogs cry wolf, and we get to the point where we're just like, just shut up.
Just stop it.
But it is really a good idea to go over and see what it is that's going on. Then the next step to stopping that behavior is to redirect or give them something else to do. If you don't step in and give your dog something else to do, they're going to continue to bark and fixate.
Because they're alarmed now.
Right.
They're kind of freaked out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you want to take your dog and move it away from where the alarm happened. So the further away they are from it, the easier it is to control the dog. Get them in there and give them something else to do. For example, you can have them go lay on their bed. You can give them a little something to do, like a snuffle mat, or
Zella, come here. Zella, get your head
or
out there.
anything that's going to redirect or change what the dog's fixated on.
Well, and what I started doing with part of that, when someone comes to the door, like I get a lot of UPS deliveries because I'm an Amazon shopper. But I'll bring the box inside and put it on the floor and show it to her.
That's awesome.
And let her be part of opening the box.
Mhm.
Sometimes she's afraid of it, you know, until the other dogs will come and stick their heads in it and see
Right.
what's in it, and then she'll come and look at it. But that is like associated with whoever's knocking at the door.
Right, exactly. So alarm barks typically happen when people are walking past your house,
Yes.
people are coming to the doors, or maybe something falls or makes a noise that they're not used to. In your dog's mind, let's say, for example, that your dog has a tendency to want to bark at people that walk past your fence. They have decided in their little dog brains that they have a superpower, and that superpower is barking. For example, they see something outside, they bark at it, and it walks away and goes out of sight.
I
They
did that.
have just successfely
I have
defended
saved
the territory.
the world
Yes.
right now.
And then they walk around like real cocky and their tails are wagging and they're like, ha ha ha, yeah.
I did that.
I did that. So if your dog thinks that they have a superpower and they're using it for ill and not good, then again, you want to redirect. If it's at a high traffic time, maybe school's out and there's a lot of kids passing by, that's a great time to bring your dog in for a nap,
Yes,
rather than letting them
definitely.
be outside and continue to bark at
Definitely.
whatever's going on. They are designed to alert bark and let you know when there could be potential danger. And so telling your dog that it's not okay to bark when there is danger means that when danger really finally comes, they're not going to tell you.
Right.
So we want to be careful about eliminating the barks.
But you do want to control it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So we want to take the dog away from where they alerted, acknowledge that they alerted, and then redirect. Give them something to do. So take them into the kitchen and work on focus. Have them pay attention to your face, or do a sit or a down, or whatever the case may be.
So now I know a lot of people use bark collars. What are your thoughts on that?
So bark collars can be effective, and the reason they're effective is because it's like God came down and smites them for barking. The timing on a bark collar is always perfect. The problem with bark collars is that people want to, I don't want to say people are sadistic and that they want to cause pain, but there is kind of, you know, when you're aggravated and you're upset and you're angry, there is kind of a satisfaction that happens when
Could, yeah.
yeah, and so you want to be really careful about the types of collars that you use. There's different types of collars. There's some that vibrate, there's some that shock, there's some that spray citronella oil in
See,
your
now
dog's
I've
face.
used the citronella with another dog several years ago.
Yeah.
So, Tessa, she would, if I put her in a crate and she did not want to be in it,
Mhm.
she would bark incessantly.
Bark incessantly.
And I couldn't have that at a show.
Right.
So.
And some dogs will just brace and take it. And so what I mean by that is if you've got a citronella collar on, they know what's coming, they know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
and they still brace themselves,
And then
close
they'll
their
bark
eyes and
through
bark,
it.
and just bark right through it. And then you come
Yes.
back and you've got a dog who's just dripping in citronella.
Yeah.
And that's not good either.
No, it's not.
So if you're going to use a type of device to try to control the barking, just know that there's probably better ways to do it.
I was gonna say, it kind of defeats the purpose. I mean, if you've got an incessant barker that, you know, you have to do something about, I guess,
Mhm.
but controlling it in a different way is more effective
Mhm.
in the big picture.
In the big picture, because then you're always relying on this tool to get your dog to stop. If you do feel like you have to use, maybe you're gone at work and your dog's barking at noises and you can't be there to redirect, that if you are going to use a bark collar, hold it in your hand and let it shock you.
Mhm.
Never do to a dog what you wouldn't want done to yourself.
Yes.
And see what that sensation feels like. It should be enough to interrupt the behavior, but not enough to create pain.
Right.
So I definitely don't believe in random acts of violence.
No.
So if you're going to do that, oftentimes you can set a collar, and I would make sure that you get a collar that you can set the
Yes.
intensity on. You can have it down at a 1 or a 2. Maybe let's say it's got 10 levels on it. You've got it down to a 1 or a 2. That's usually enough to get the dog to stop
It's
barking.
effective because it just gives them a little wake up call, and
Mhm.
it's not It's not a matter of electrocuting your dog, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And I'm not a big advocate of bark collars, but I know people will want to ask that question.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
I agree with you. And like I said, the only time I ever used one was with Tessa with that citronella collar, because I knew if I left her in the hotel room, for example,
Yes. Yeah.
or I had to leave her in her crate while I was doing something else with another dog, that she would drive everybody insane.
Right.
So, and there was no way to stop that.
Right.
But that's why I did use the citronella collar on her.
Yeah.
So, it did not teach her anything really. Because, so they're not learning anything from that
Exactly. They're
experience.
not learning anything from that experience except that it hurts. And sometimes you can have a negative reaction from that. For example, company comes to the house and they get shocked when company comes, they're going to start to hate company.
Yeah, for sure.
And they might start to get aggressive. They might start to get other behaviors that you didn't necessarily intend
you don't want.
by putting that bark collar on.
Yeah,
so you
for
want to be
sure.
real careful about how you use something
and you know,
like that.
she goes nuts when someone comes to the house. We have company, you know, and I have people come over every now and then, and they know that they go into my office when people come over. So the doorbell will ring and they'll start barking and they all go into the office, and I close the office doors and let whoever it is in answer the door. But that's kind of what I've taught them, is when the doorbell goes off, we all go into the office.
That's perfect.
So
Giving them something else to do. So when the doorbell rings, my job is, and they know what their job is.
Yep.
So giving them something that is incongruent or completely opposite of what it is that your dog's trying to do is often a really good way to redirect. For example, doorbell rings, I go sit on my dog bed. And so you do that through conditioning at night. You go over and have, tell your friend, come over, I'll give you a glass of wine and we'll talk. And you just ring the doorbell a couple times for my dog so that I can teach them to go to their bed.
Yeah.
And take the bed and move it as far from the door as you possibly can so that there's a distance between the dog and the door. And before you know it, you can do this in as little as a week. The doorbell rings, the dog's gonna go straight to their bed and they're gonna lay on it and they're gonna be quiet.
And not be barking like a bunch of crazed fools.
Exactly.
Well, and their reward for going into the office is once the company comes in. If it's a package, like I said, we get to open it, but once the company comes in and they're settled, then the dogs can come out and be petted and meet everybody. And that's kind of the routine, and that's their reward for
absolutely
going in there and not being crazed lunatics.
Right. Yep.
So.
Exactly. Another one that I find kind of comical, because we bring this one on ourselves, guys, is demand barking. So, so demand barking is where your dog comes over and barks at you, trying to get you to do whatever it is that you. Sorry, my phone's ringing in the background. I thought I put it on silent, but apparently I didn't. So demand barking is where your dog comes up to you and sits in front of you and starts barking. Or maybe they start pawing at you, or they bump you with their nose, or that kind of thing. Those are all ways that your dog is training you to respond to a stimulus, kind of like we train dogs to respond to cookies. Well, our dogs are training us to respond to their demands. Right. So if the first time you give into that, your dog barks at you and you're like, oh, aren't you cute? And you reach down and you pet them and talk to them and tell them how cute they are, they're gonna go, that works.
Yep.
And the next time I want something, I'm gonna come over and bark at you. And then they will sit there and they will incessantly bark at you, trying to get you to do whatever it is they want you to do.
Well, and that works with whining too, because we just discussed that, and I'm not a big fan of whining.
Yes, vocalization
whining makes
just
me a
makes
little
me
crazy. And she will, if she's hungry and it's first thing in the morning, or 4:30 rolls around and she thinks she should have her dinner early, she will sit in front of me and whine, and the whining gets louder and longer. Oh, you know, I'm dying. Yeah, I am dying of starvation right now.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
And I know she's not dying of starvation.
Exactly.
And she can wait another 20 minutes.
Exactly.
For dinner.
Exactly.
So what do you do to stop that?
The best thing that you can do is ignore it. So if you're sitting there and your dog's barking at you or they're whining, the next step is, if you don't react to that, is they're going to start pawing at you, or they're going to bump you with their nose. When that happens, I get up and I walk completely away. I might go put myself in the bathroom for a minute, and I just absolutely will not give them eye contact, attention, affection. There is zero feedback.
Because they're being demanding. Yeah.
Yep. And so I take myself and I remove myself from that situation. And then I'll come back out and I'll sit in my chair. And if I want to give my dog whatever it is I know that they want, because we're smart, we know what they want.
We do know what they want.
Then I might give it to them after they've quieted down and there's been some time removed from the demand barking or whining. For example, if your dog's whining for dinner, then I would go sit down on the couch.
Yep.
And I would sit there and be like, you know, dinner stops right now until you finish whining. As soon as they're quiet, then I'd get back up and go back in the kitchen. So they understand cause and effect. So if their whining gets you to come and sit on the couch, they're going to stop doing it because it stops what they want.
Yes.
Yes. So they will make the connection, believe it or not, and they will make it really fast.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Let's see here. Isolation barks. So these are the ones that your neighbors hate. These are the barks where your dog's in the backyard and they're barking, God forbid, 2 o'clock in the morning, or they're barking and howling. Usually there's kind of a plaintive wail to that bark. It's oh, or yeah.
If I walk to the mailbox, I get that because I have just left them inside the house, and just mind you, it's Zella that does all this. The other two do not make a noise typically.
Yeah.
But if I close the front door and I walk across the street to the mailbox, that's what she does.
Yes.
Of course, it's only for like 2 minutes because I'm back in the house in 2 minutes. But that whole 2 minutes is excruciating for me walking across the street to the mailbox.
Right.
And that being said, I don't let them outside at night. They don't have access to outside.
Right.
That would drive me insane.
Yeah. So, you know, first of all is try to be a good neighbor and know that there are times when
don't do that.
The neighborhood doesn't want to hear that. So if it's before 8 or it's after 10, bring your dog inside. They're pack animals. They need to be with their pack. Saying that this is an outside dog doesn't work for me.
Yeah, me neither.
Or this is such a big dog that it's supposed to be outside. Not all dogs are outside dogs.
Right.
There are some that thrive in that kind of environment, like Akbash.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Pyrenees,
Great
and
Pyrenees,
things like that. That are tending dogs.
Yes.
But they're not. Yeah. But our pets are not that kind of dog.
Right.
Go look at our video about choosing the right breed, because that's probably not a breed you want to get as a pet.
Yeah, those are some tough breeds to handle.
Yeah.
If you don't like your dog in certain rooms of the house, then deny access to them or bring them in and put them in a crate.
Yes.
So that they are inside, they're safe, they're not bothering anybody. But because they're isolated from the pack or the pack leader has left, then they're trying to reunite or to bring everybody back together again. Yeah. And so, that's when you might hear that type of barking. Aggressive barks. So this is where typically your dog is trying to put themselves in front of you. Tail's usually raised above the top line or the highest point on their back. Ears are forward, their body's forward, and they're barking and they're growling. When your dog is being aggressive barking, you need to figure out, is this truly a danger or is this a perceived danger? For example, some dogs don't necessarily like other dogs, or they don't necessarily like people in hats and sunglasses, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
A lot of aggression barks stem from a place of fear and insecurity rather than from a place of confidence.
Yeah.
And so if it is because I think that my dog's fearful or afraid, or they're lacking confidence with whatever the situation's bringing, I do what I can to bring confidence back to them. So first thing I do is we step back and we put distance between whatever my dog's being reactive to and that, until I can get my dog to stop. So that may mean 5 steps, it could mean 10 steps, it could mean 1,000 steps. however many steps it takes to get my dog back to me.
Well, and I know in one of your classes that you teach stepping in front of your dog and backing them up with the focus. And I've done that several times, well, with all of them, but mostly with her, because just getting that leash, putting myself in front of her so where she's facing me and I'm between her and whatever is going on, usually puts a stop to that.
It really does. Yep, so that was the next thing I was going to say is if your dog's in front of you, then they're in control of whatever happens to you. If you're in front of you, then you're in control of whatever happens. And so it's always a good idea to try to get the dog behind you. If you're behind the dog and you're pulling the dog, you're actually increasing that aggressive response.
Yeah.
Instead, if you step in front of the dog and you walk towards them and make them back away till they look away, that's going to be your best response for being able to get the dog to pay attention.
And let me tell you, that works really quick.
It does.
And this is one thing we're gonna do a video about leashes, retractable leashes, because we have had a big controversy about that. You have zero control with one of those things.
Yeah.
If you have your dog on a regular leash, even if it's a long line, you have more control over your dog than you do on a leash like that. And so getting that control and putting them in front of you is imperative.
Yes.
To stopping that situation.
Yes.
Really fast.
Really fast. Yeah, so proximity for a dog that's going through aggression barks is definitely one of the most important things. Don't pull, don't stand behind, get between, face the dog, make them back away from whatever it is, then redirect and praise for appropriate response.
So if your dog is a little bit ahead of you and they're doing this, I sometimes will reach down and grab the collar and just step in front of them.
Yep.
Just do a turn.
Yep.
Step in front of them. And that way they now see the control.
Yep.
So you don't want to just yank the leash back.
Right.
Like that. Just
right. I just get a quick control of the head, grab a hold of the collar, step in front, and then off we go backwards.
Yep.
Yeah. Definitely. That's definitely.
And if you need help with that, call Noelle.
Yeah. Yep.
She can help you with that.
Yes, absolutely. So those are the barks that I thought would be the most interesting.
Yes.
And probably the most beneficial to you guys out there. Remember, there's lots of reasons why dogs bark. That is their form of communication. And telling your dog that it's not okay to bark is like saying it's not okay to talk. And I don't know a person out there.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good with me.
That's going to stop talking. So remember that barks are natural. They're going to happen in your dog's life. It's the times when it's incessant, it's demanding, or it's aggressive that we really want to focus.
Or fearful.
Fearful, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.
Thank you guys.
And we will see you soon.